She dared me to kiss her as a joke. Everyone laughed. The music was loud, glasses clinked around the room. And the entire backyard glowed beneath strings of golden lights. It was supposed to be a carefree summer party, one of those evenings people forget a week later. But I remember every second of it. Because that was the moment my life changed. Not when I kissed her. Not when the crowd cheered. Not even when she looked at me afterward with an expression I couldn't quite understand. My life changed because of what happened months later. Because of a promise. Because of a little girl. Because of a secret that almost destroyed everything. And because sometimes the people who walk into our lives as a joke become the people who teach us what love really means. At 29, I wasn't exactly living the life I'd imagined. I worked long hours managing a hardware store outside Columbus, Ohio. My apartment was small. My social life consisted mostly of watching baseball with friends on weekends and helping my elderly neighbor carry groceries upstairs. Nothing exciting. Nothing remarkable. Just ordinary. I had been engaged once. 3 years earlier. The wedding never happened. My fiancée left after deciding she wanted a different future than the one we'd planned together. The breakup wasn't dramatic. That almost made it worse. No screaming. No betrayal. Just two people realizing they were headed in different directions. Since then, I had kept relationships casual. Safe. Predictable. My friends constantly told me I needed to get back out there. I constantly ignored them. Which is how I ended up at Ethan's annual 4th of July party. Ethan had been my best friend since high school. He believed every problem in life could be solved with barbecue. And enough people gathered in one place. His wife, Jessica, believed he was probably right. By sunset, nearly 50 people filled their backyard. Families. Neighbors. Co-workers. Friends. And strangers. Lots of strangers. Including her. Her name was Ava. I didn't know that yet. I only noticed her because everyone else seemed to. She stood near the picnic tables laughing with a group of women. Not because she was the loudest. Actually, she was surprisingly quiet. But she had this way of making people feel comfortable. The kind of person who listened when others talked. The kind of smile that felt genuine. The kind of presence that made crowded spaces feel smaller. Around 9 o'clock, Ethan introduced us. Daniel, meet Ava. She extended her hand. Nice to meet you. Her eyes were warm. Kind. A little tired. Though I couldn't explain why that stood out to me. Nice to meet you too. For the next hour, we talked. Nothing serious. Movies. Sports. Travel dreams. Embarrassing childhood stories. She was funny. Sharp. Easy to talk to. And for the first time in years, I forgot to be cautious. Then came the dare. Someone started a ridiculous party game. A circle formed around the fire pit. People drew cards with challenges. Most were harmless. Sing a song. Do an impression. Tell an embarrassing story. Then Ava drew hers. She read the card and immediately laughed. Oh no. What is it? Someone asked. Her face turned pink. No way. The crowd insisted. Finally she read it aloud. Dare someone here to kiss you. The entire group erupted. People whistled. Cheered. Laughed. Ava buried her face in her hands. This is ridiculous. Then she looked around dramatically. Her eyes landed on me. Fine. Everyone went silent. A mischievous grin appeared. I dare Daniel. The crowd exploded. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I laughed nervously. This feels like a trap. It probably is, she said. People chanted. Encouraged. Teased. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Ava shrugged. It's just a joke. Maybe it was the atmosphere. Maybe it was the cheering crowd. Maybe it was the fact I'd spent the last hour enjoying every conversation we'd shared. Whatever the reason, I stepped forward. She met me halfway. The kiss lasted less than 2 seconds. Quick. Harmless. Nothing dramatic. When we pulled apart, everyone applauded. Someone shouted, "Now they're getting married." The group laughed. Ava laughed. I laughed. And life moved on. Or so I thought. The party ended around midnight. Before leaving, Ava found me near the driveway. "Sorry about the dare." I smiled. "I survived." She hesitated. Then handed me a napkin. A phone number was written on it. "In case you're traumatized and need emotional support." I laughed. She laughed too. And then she walked away. I stared at the number for a long time. The next day, I texted her. 3 words. "Lunch this week?" Her response came 30 seconds later. "Absolutely." That lunch turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekend hikes. Hikes turned into late-night phone calls. And somehow, without either of us planning it, we became inseparable. But there was one thing Ava never talked about. Her past. Whenever conversations drifted toward family, she gently changed subjects. When I asked about previous relationships, she offered vague answers. Nothing suspicious. Just private. Everyone has things they aren't ready to discuss. I respected that. 3 months later, I understood why. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. I had planned to surprise her with takeout after work. When I arrived at her apartment, I noticed something unusual. A small pink bicycle leaned against the building. Inside her apartment, I heard laughter. A child's laughter. I froze. Confused. Ava opened the door. The moment she saw me, her expression changed. Not fear. Not guilt. Something closer to worry. "Daniel." I held up the food. "I thought I'd surprise you." Behind her, a little girl peeked around the corner. Maybe 7 years old. Curly brown hair. Big eyes. She immediately hid again. My confusion deepened. Ava closed her eyes briefly. Then looked at me. "We need to talk." Those words are rarely comforting. She invited me inside. The little girl sat quietly on the couch clutching a stuffed rabbit. Ava knelt beside her. "Honey, can you play in your room for a few minutes?" The girl nodded and disappeared down the hallway. Then Ava sat across from me. Silence filled the room. Finally she spoke. "Her name is Lily." I nodded. Ava swallowed hard. "She's my daughter." Everything stopped. Not because she had a daughter. But because she'd never mentioned her. Not once. Not in months. I didn't know what to say. She looked devastated. "I wanted to tell you." "Why didn't you?" Tears filled her eyes. "Because every time I do, men leave." The words landed like a punch. She stared at the floor. Her father left when she was 2. I remained silent. Ava continued. "Since then, every relationship ends the same way." Her voice cracked. "They find out I'm a single mom." A tear rolled down her cheek. "And suddenly they're too busy." I felt something break inside me. Not anger. Not disappointment. Sadness. The kind that comes from realizing how many times someone's heart has been broken. "I didn't want to lose you." For several seconds neither of us spoke. Then I asked quietly. "Does Lily know about me?" Ava nodded. "She asks about you all the time." That was the moment everything changed. Not because I suddenly became a father figure. Not because I knew where our relationship was headed. But because I realized Ava had been carrying this fear alone for years. And nobody should have to do that. The next hour was spent getting to know Lily. At first she was shy. Then she showed me her drawings. Her stuffed animals. Her favorite books. By the time I left, She'd convinced me that rabbits were superior to every other animal. Ava walked me to my car. Her face looked exhausted. Thank you. For what? For staying. I looked at her. Really looked at her. At the woman who had spent months waiting for disappointment. The woman who believed honesty would cost her happiness. The woman who loved her daughter enough to risk losing people. Then I said the simplest thing I could think of. Lily seems pretty amazing. Ava cried. Right there in the parking lot. And I hugged her while she did. Over the following year, Lily became part of my life. Slowly. Naturally. We baked cookies. Visited zoos. Built blanket forts. Attended school plays. Nothing forced. Nothing rushed. One evening, after helping Lily with homework, I found Ava standing in the kitchen watching us. What? She smiled. Nothing. But tears filled her eyes. I knew exactly what she was thinking. For years she had expected people to leave. Instead, someone stayed. Neither of us knew the hardest part was still ahead. It began with a phone call. Lily collapsed at school. At first doctors thought it was exhaustion. Then they ordered tests. More tests. Then specialists. Finally came the diagnosis. A rare heart condition. The room spun. Ava cried so hard she couldn't breathe. Lily was too young to understand. I remember sitting beside her hospital bed that night. She held her stuffed rabbit tightly. Am I going to be okay? No child should ever have to ask that question. I squeezed her hand. Yes. I prayed it was true. The months that followed tested every part of us. Medical bills piled up. Appointments consumed our schedules. Fear became a constant companion. Ava tried to stay strong. But I watched her unravel. She worked extra shifts. Sold belongings. Skipped meals. Anything to keep moving forward. One night I found her sitting alone in the hospital parking garage. Crying. Completely exhausted. I can't do this. I sat beside her. Yes, you can. She shook her head. No. Tears streamed down her face. What if I lose her? I had no answer. Because I was terrified too. Instead, I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. And we sat together in silence. The surgery was scheduled for March. The waiting list was long. Too long. Every day felt like borrowed time. Then something extraordinary happened. Our community learned about Lily. Not because we asked. Not because we advertised. People simply heard. And they cared. Customers from the hardware store donated money. Neighbors organized fundraisers. Teachers held events. Churches collected support. Strangers mailed cards. Thousands of them. One elderly widow sent $20 and a handwritten note. I don't have much, but every child deserves a chance. I still keep that letter. Because it reminded me of something important. Most people are good. The world just doesn't always make headlines for it. 3 weeks before surgery, another shock arrived. The hospital informed us that additional expenses wouldn't be fully covered. The amount was overwhelming. Far beyond what we had. That night Ava broke down. I don't know what else to do. I didn't either. Then Ethan called. Turn on the television. We did. A local news station was covering Lily's story. The fundraiser had gone viral. Donations poured in from across the country. People we'd never met contributed. $5. $10. $50. Hundreds. Thousands. Within 48 hours, the goal was exceeded. I watched Ava stare at the screen. Speechless. Then she whispered something I'll never forget. Why would strangers do this? The answer felt simple. Because kindness spreads. Because humanity survives. Because somewhere inside most people is a desire to help. The surgery lasted 9 hours. 9 of the longest hours of my life. Ava never left the waiting room. Neither did I. When the surgeon finally appeared, we both stood instantly. For a moment his expression revealed nothing. Then he smiled. It went well. Ava collapsed into tears. I nearly did too. Months later, Lily returned home. Healthy. Laughing. Running. Living. The first thing she wanted to do was ride her bicycle. The same pink bicycle I'd seen outside Ava's apartment the day I learned the truth. Watching her pedal down the sidewalk felt like witnessing a miracle. A year later, I proposed to Ava. Not at a fancy restaurant. Not during some elaborate event. Just in our backyard while Lily chased fireflies. The ring wasn't expensive. The moment was priceless. Ava cried before I finished asking. Lily screamed yes before her mother answered. And for the first time in a long time, life felt whole. At our wedding reception, Ethan gave a toast. Naturally, it included the infamous dare. The entire room laughed when he told the story. Then he grew serious. He raised his glass. Funny thing is, everyone thought the kiss was the surprising part. The room quieted. Ethan looked at Ava. Then Lily. Then me. But that wasn't the surprise. His voice softened. The surprise was discovering how one small moment could lead to a family. I glanced at Ava. She squeezed my hand. And how one act of courage, telling the truth, could lead to people showing up for each other. Many guests wiped away tears. Including me. Ethan smiled. So here's to unexpected beginnings. Everyone raised their glasses. To kindness. To second chances. To family. The room echoed the words. Years have passed since that night. Lily is older now. Healthy. Strong. Still convinced rabbits are the greatest animals on earth. Ava still smiles the same way she did the night we met. And every 4th of July, our friends bring up the dare. They laugh. They tease us. They tell the story over and over. But they're all wrong about one thing. The moment that shocked everyone wasn't the kiss. It wasn't the relationship. It wasn't even the wedding. The thing that truly shocked everyone was what happened when people chose kindness. When strangers became helpers. When fear gave way to trust. When a little girl's struggle reminded hundreds of people that compassion still matters. Because in a world that often feels divided, cold, and overwhelming, the most powerful force isn't money. It isn't luck. It isn't even love alone. It's humanity. The willingness to stand beside someone when they need it most. The courage to stay when leaving would be easier. The decision to care about people you may never meet. A kiss started the story. But kindness wrote the ending. And that ending turned out to be more beautiful than any joke could have imagined.